Good morning, members of Parliament, support staff, visitors in the public tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to this public meeting number 18 of today, Thursday, June 9th, 2022. I would like to give a special welcome to the Prime Minister, Minister of General Affairs, Ms. Sylvia Jacobs, and her support staff, Mrs. Weeks, and also to the representatives of the General Audit Chamber. Welcome. We have established 13 members for quorum, and I would like to please have us stand for a moment of silence. I've received notice of absence from the following members of Parliament: MP William Marlin, and a notice of lateness from MP Brownbill. Is there any member of Parliament that wishes to have the floor for notifications? No? I would handle it. Okay, thank you. We have as agenda points for this public meeting the Initiative National Ordinance amending, Agenda Point 1, Initiative National Ordinance amending the Initiative National, the General Police Law, AB 2013 GT number 42, in connection with the introduction of the ban on the use of plastic bags. This can be found under IS 332, Parliamentary Year 2021-22, dated December 1st, 2022. Parliamentary Year 2021 to 2022, number 153. The second agenda point we have for today is the National Ordinance amending the National Ordinance registration and finances of political parties in connection with the foundation, the substitution of the General Audit Chamber with the Foundation Government Accounts Bureau in checking the accuracy of the financial data of political parties. This can also be found on Parliamentary Year 2021 to 2022 under IS 156. Yes. Agenda point 3, proposal by Party for Progress on Parliamentary Relationship and Development, registered again under IS 026, Parliamentary Year 2021-2022, and also under IS 092, Parliamentary Year 2021-2022, dated October 5th, 2021. And our last agenda point is the pressing issue with the future of the Carnival with long-reaching consequences. This can be found under IS 866, 2021 to 2022, dated May 9th, 2022. First and foremost, I would like to make a proposal. I'd like to propose to handle agenda point 2 first. And I would like to also adjourn agenda point 3 and agenda point 4. Agenda point 3 will be adjourned because the committee, this was agenda point considering the Central Committee meeting of yesterday regarding this proposal. The advice is currently being prepared, and therefore this agenda point will need to be adjourned at a later point. And agenda point 4, by the request of a few MPs to adjourn this agenda point, and I will honor that request to adjourn this agenda point.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, MP.
Can I get an explanation as to why agenda point 4 is to be postponed?
It was requested by a few MPs to not to postpone it and have the. You didn't give me a chance to finish. But agenda point 4 will be now handled in a closed door setting, and then we will then move back to the OV for a further handling.
What reason?
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, MP.
If you're through with MP Christopher,
No, I didn't get that. He asked me for what reason.
Okay.
It was based on the information that is going to be coming out. They feel like they would rather have it in a closed door setting to hear them out before, because it is mainly maybe one-sided version, and they would want to maybe hear different stakeholders, and in an OV setting, that is not possible. So we will then handle it in a CC, and if depending on what the information is, we would then come to an agreement to see if a third party or any stakeholders that are implicated would have the opportunity to come in and also address that. That's the reason for that.
Madam Chair, sorry, but who requested that meeting?
Maybe the MPs in questions can.
The meeting, there's a meeting for Carnival.
Carnival committee, the Carnival committee requested a meeting.
And that's the meeting going into a closed door?
The meeting is not cancelled.
No.
The meeting is adjourned. The meeting will go in a closed door.
So I'm asking, who requested that meeting?
To go in a closed door?
No, the meeting for Carnival.
Carnival requested the meeting, MP.
So is the Carnival committee now asking for it to go into a closed door?
No, they did not.
So then who's asking for it to go into a closed door?
It is at the purview of the, MP, let me reply on my own, thank you. It is at the purview of the President of Parliament to decide how meetings are handled, and this is the decision of my person to handle it this way. MP
Point
Westcott?
of order, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
You should be standing.
Madam Chair Lady, let me understand it correctly. We receive a convocation for a public meeting. This is the meeting that we're holding now. Imagine the Carnival Foundation. They were the ones who asked for a public meeting. My first initial reaction was, wow, Carnival Foundation must consider this topic very important to ask for a public meeting of Parliament. We received a convocation. And now, so the chair lady of Parliament agreed, I guess, with Carnival Foundation's position and put it on a public meeting of Parliament. Now, without explaining why, some members who probably have more information than I do about what the Carnival Foundation was to discuss have asked for this to go not in a central committee meeting, which I could understand, a closed door. So now this is only going to prompt more questions. What was the Carnival Foundation going to divulge that made some members, and have these members put it in writing? Madam Chair, this is a public meeting that was called. It has been put in writing. Could we have that request from those members who have indicated they want it in writing? I mean, they want it in a closed-door central committee? You said it came on request of some members. Have the members officially submitted to you, Madam Chair Lady, that an agenda point for a public meeting be put in a closed-door meeting, central committee meeting of Parliament?
No, they have not put that in writing, but I am just adjourning the agenda point. I am not cancelling it. It will continue.
Madam Chair Lady.
Any other member of Parliament wish to have the floor?
Madam Chair Lady, I'm not finished. Thank you.
MP Pontiflet, you have the floor.
Madam Chair Lady, could I finish my point, please? I'm not finished. The members who requested that a publicly scheduled agenda point be put in a closed-door central committee need to inform you and Parliament of why. This is what now going to create a whole story to live its own out there on the Carnival Foundation. What were they coming to tell us? What do members know that they were coming to tell us that the other members don't know?
Well, one of the members would like to have the floor. MP, thank you, and I'll have MP Pontiflet. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to the Chair, my colleagues in Parliament, the person sitting in the tribune, those that are following and listening. Madam Chair, we know basically, that's right, yes, sir. Yeah, even though I didn't sign to speak, yes. Thanks, thank you very much. Yes. Madam Chair, the meeting was requested by the foundation, yes. The person who has the right to set meetings without our permission as members of Parliament is the chair. The chair don't need 3 or 4 signatures to call meetings, if I'm correct, according to the rules of order. Members of Parliament, of which I'm one, looking at the situation and so on, basically not knowing what was going to come out, what is going to come out of the meeting, but the public should know this. I got calls, Madam Chair, and based on the calls that I got, I think respect to the public themselves and to those who are not here to defend themselves, because if we allow the foundation to speak here today, then we're going to bring in this stakeholder, that stakeholder, that stakeholder, and then, Madam Chair, it'll be his word against hers or whatever. We don't need it. The public needs clarity. So, Madam Chair, I think it was prudent for this meeting that is requested, foundation, which is quite interesting, to be held in a closed-door session with the Central Committee where we can discuss everything, and then, Madam Chair, then we can determine exactly what we can do when a public meeting is called. The issue is, politics is a very interesting game, but the people of St. Martin need to know that from their parliament, that when we stand on this floor and we come with proposals and so on, that is based on what we want to do in their interest. And I appreciate one of the members who pulled back what was coming with a motion and so on, because, again, they look at the general interest, not personal party politics. So let us put the politics aside, Madam Chair, meet with the necessary stakeholders in a Central Committee meeting, and then it will be called, appointment will be called, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Point of order, Madam Chair, lady.
Thank
Madam
you,
Chair, lady.
MP Pantaflet. Which point of order came first? MP Westcott, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, lady. Madam Chair, lady, a question that could possibly be answered by some of those who seem to have more information as to what the Carnival Committee was going to share here today, but I'll make it a point to get that information, for one. But my question has to do with the fact that from what I understood, it was the intention of this public meeting to stop the government's initiative to put the Carnival on bid. And my question is, by putting off this meeting, are we sort of allowing the government to continue with their plans, yes or no? When is this public meeting going to be held for the Parliament to take the position that apparently was being initiated by members of Parliament to stop the government in their tracks at this time from putting Carnival on bid? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. Hence the reason why I said I adjourned the OV, the public meeting, because then we can have a closed-door meeting with Carnival, and based on that assessment, we can decide as Parliament how we're going to move forward with it, knowing that the OV is still adjourned. Who's the other member of Parliament that was MP Emmanuel? You have.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning to everyone. Madam Chair, lady, this meeting is in response to what happened in the budget. In a public meeting, Madam Chair, lady, an amendment was made in a public meeting. The Carnival Committee requested a meeting publicly. I am not, let me start to put it nicely. Yes, I am not disagreeing with the chairperson's right to call a meeting whenever, however they want. However, Madam Chair, lady, we receive a convocation for a public meeting on the request of the Carnival Committee. Now, Madam Chair, lady, you are saying some members of Parliament is requesting a meeting, and then a member tried to explain which didn't go anywhere. Stakeholders, who? Stakeholders in what? Stakeholders in what? The amendment was made in a public meeting to discuss Carnival. To discuss Carnival. So now we are here to discuss Carnival in a public meeting, and then we are told, no, it's going into a closed door to see if we can go into. I am asking for an explanation, Madam Chair, and it's not forthcoming. It's not forthcoming, Madam Chair, lady. So how is it that just from one end to the other is just put it in a closed door? No, Madam Chair, it can't be that way. And then we are told about politics being played. That's the essence of politics being played, Madam Chair, lady.
Thank you, MP Emmanuel. MP Bryson. And then MP Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to one and all. Madam Chair, just further to that discussion, I'm looking at the letter from the SCDF. I don't see any indication as to what the reasoning for the meeting is. It talks about pending issues, whether it's amendments, whether it's bids, whether it's stakeholders. I'm not sure. Is there any additional information that maybe we're missing? So that's something that needs to be clarified, because I didn't see a reason for the meeting. I just saw urgent pending issues. And I think what we do know is that there are urgent pending issues. Coming to the issue of a public meeting or not, what is the opinion of the requesters of the meeting, if you know, Madam Chair? What is the preference of them, just so that we can know? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Bryson. MP Gums.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, MP Westcott's previous point of order regarding how does the process continue then if we're not handling this in a public meeting, as it were. I myself had questions during the budget meeting itself about putting Carnival up for bid, essentially, and that for me is an urgent issue. I also have questions for SCDF on the execution of Carnival. So I think a little more clarity then on after the Central Committee, what happens in the background, because we don't know. If the process is going to continue, is it going to speed up to execute basically what is the bid process? Thank you.
Thank you, MPs. Thank you, members of parliament. I would like to make a proposal. Let us, seeing the urgency, the reason why I shift agenda point 2 to be the first agenda point, because the Prime Minister has a meeting. Let's go over the first 2 agenda points with the Prime Minister and with the Audit Chamber, and when we go to agenda point 1, we will continue this discussion and decide how we're going to move forward. Is that okay? Seeing that the time is running out for the Prime Minister. So with that, members of parliament, with your indulgence, let's go over then to agenda point 1 that has now become agenda point 2 that moved to agenda point 1, which is, where we're handling agenda point 2. Well, I'm sorry for the confusion. It's the National Ordinance amending the National Ordinance Registration and Finances of Political Parties in connection with the Foundation in substitution of the General Audit and with the Foundation Government Accounts Bureau in checking with the accuracy of the financial data of political parties. And stated before, it's found under Parliamentary Year 2021-2022, number 156, and also IS 575, Parliamentary Year 2021-2022, dated February 18, 2022. The draft National Ordinance on Ordinance amending the National Ordinance Registration and Finances of Political Parties in connection with the Foundation, the substitution of the General Audit Chamber with the Foundation Government, wow, what a run-on sentence, with the Foundation Government Accounts Bureau in checking with the accuracy of the financial data of political parties was received on February 18, 2022 by Parliament. Long sentence. A Central Committee meeting was held on May 13, 2022 on the subject matter in which the Prime Minister gave a presentation. However, there were no questions from the members of Parliament. Based on the meeting, the Parliament considers the current draft to be sufficiently prepared and that it can be therefore handled in a public meeting. Therefore, a response from government is to this blanco final report is considered not necessary. All members have received a copy of the draft National Ordinance digitally via email, and it can be found on the P drive of Parliament. I would like to first give the floor to the General Affairs Minister, Ms. Silvera Jacobs, for some opening remarks, presentation if she may have, if any.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to the honorable members of Parliament, the Griffier. Of course, good morning to the Chair of the General Audit Chamber, Mr. Alphonse Combs, and the Secretary General, Mr. Keith de Jong, as well as to Mrs. Weeks Duzong, joining me this morning. Madam Chair, indeed, in our Central Committee meeting, we also had the assistance of Mr. de Jong to present and assist us in sharing the information regarding this legislation being amended. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. My apologies. I've been sitting here so long I completely forgot, and wishing all a blessed and safe rest of the week. Do take care of yourselves. The draft legislation, as mentioned by you, Madam Chair, proposes to amend the National Ordinance on the Registration and Finance of Political Parties, and it is necessary to remove legal discrepancies between the Constitution and the law. In view of the duties and authorities in accordance with Article 74 of the Constitution, the Audit Chamber is charged with investigating the efficiency and the lawfulness of the country's revenue and expenditure. The Audit Chamber's constitutional authorization is therefore limited to public funds. So SOAB has been determined. Why? It is the appropriate entity because they are government's auditors and allowed to audit also non-public funds of entities related to government. A comparison with the legislation in Curaçao shows that the SOAB is also assigned with this specific task there.
And the body agrees, the legislative body in Curacao also agrees that this is not a task of the Court of Audit, so of the audit chamber. Furthermore, in consultation with the SOAB, they agree with this draft. Further consultation was also had with, the Audit Chamber, the Electoral Council, the Central Voting Bureau, and the SOAB. All parties unanimously agreed that checking the accuracy of political parties' financial reports does not involve public funds, and as political parties in St. Martin do not receive government subsidies for their operation and/or electoral activities. As a result, all the stakeholders mentioned above agree that the tasks in the NFP do not fit within the Audit Chamber's constitutional mandate. The stakeholders unanimously agree on the proposal to replace the Audit Chamber with the SOAB. With that being said, Madam Chair, Madam Chair, I'm hoping and trusting that the legislation is clear to the members as was handled in the CC without further questions. And I would like, with your permission, to just take a moment to, yesterday when I was here, we were able to highlight some positive persons with great achievements. This is the month that most family members from May actually, especially within the US, are seeing their family members graduate. And most recently in May, Ms. Kaisha Lawrence of St. Martin has accepted to Harvard Medical School, and we are extremely proud. Her grandmother was gushing to me the other day, and indeed this is something that St. Martin can be proud of. In the halls of Parliament, within our chambers, tribune, sitting next to me, are young St. Martiners that have gone out, studied, come back, and contributing to St. Martin's development. And I look forward to seeing that more and more happening. And of course, once they are shining outside in the world, St. Martin is also getting some of that shine. So congratulations to the Lawrence and I believe Fleming family on their granddaughter, their daughter's great success and continued success for her in following her dreams. Madam Chair, with that, I will cede the floor, but also mention that as a stakeholder in Carnival, that I'm hoping that the central committees will also include all the stakeholders that have something to say about how Carnival should be celebrated. Just my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your comments and remarks and suggestions. And I would like to, I see there's no need for anyone to have to be on the speakers list on this topic. Then with that, then, we then, according to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we now then go over to the voting for the law. Which is the National Ordinance amending the National Ordinance Registration and Finances of Political Parties in connection with the foundation of the substitution of the General Audit Chamber with the Foundation Government Accounts Bureau in checking the accuracy of the financial data of political parties. We go over to vote on Article 1 until 3. The title, the consideration, the draft in its entirety. Does any member request to have voting by roll call? Hoofdelijke stemming. MP Emmanuel. That would be number 8. And I will now turn over the floor to Secretary General for the votes.
George Pantoflet.
For.
Rayan Peterson.
For.
Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
Angelique Rameau.
For.
Ludmila De Weaver.
For.
Sarah Westcott Williams.
For.
Akeem Arundel. Sidharth Bichlani,
for,
Rolando Bryson,
4,
Solange Duncan,
4,
Christophe Emmanuel,
Against?
Melissa Gums,
4,
Guisha Heiliger Martin,
4, the draft has been accepted with 12 for and 1 against. According to Article 88, subsection 1 of the Constitution of St. Martin, Parliament shall notify the government that Parliament has approved the draft national ordinance in its public meeting of today, June 6, 2022. June 9, 2022. I would like to thank the Minister of General Affairs, Ms. Silvera Jacobs, and her support staff, Mrs. Weeks, for their presence here today, and also the General Audit Chamber representatives here. Thank you for being here with us today. And I will now close this agenda point. I would like to take a 5-minute break to allow the Prime Minister to adjourn. I will adjourn the meeting in 5 minutes. Good afternoon again. We are now at agenda point 1. We'll be handling agenda point 1. Agenda point 1 is the Initiative National Ordinance amending the Initiative National General Police Law, which is the law AB 2013 GT number 42. Members of Parliament, I am on live. Please be quiet. Thank you. In connection with the introduction of the ban on the use of plastic bags. This again can be found on IS 332, Parliamentary Year 2021-22, dated the 1st of December 2022, and Parliamentary Year 2021 to 2022, number 153. One of the most basic rights of a members of Parliament is the right of initiative. And according to Article 85 of the Constitution, a member of Parliament has the right to submit a draft initiative national ordinance to Parliament for handling and approval. On August 30th, 2018, Parliament received a draft initiative national ordinance amending the General Police Law AB 2013 GT number 42 in connection with the introduction of the ban on the use of plastic bags. This draft initiative national ordinance submitted by Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams was approved by Parliament on November 3rd, 2021 in its public meeting number 3. On October 1st, 2021, Parliament received a letter from the Prime Minister notifying the Parliament after a technical review by the Legal Affairs of the Legislation Department, it has been concluded that there are technical objections with regards to the date of the implementation of the draft initiative. Parliament was requested to adopt the draft initiative national ordinance in accordance with the advice of the Department of Legal Affairs and Legislation, which is to amend the draft law by a letter of amendment and resubmit it by ratification to the Governor and the Council, of Ministers. This letter was handled on CC3 on October 6, 2021. On December 1, 2021, Parliament received an amendment of the draft initiative national ordinance amending the General Police Law AB 2013 GT number 42 in connection with the introduction of the ban of the use of plastic bags, plastic straws, styrofoams from Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams. As presented by Article 69, Paragraph 3 and 85, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution, the draft was sent to the Council of Advice for advice, and on March 11, 2022, Parliament received the advice from the Council of Advice. The next step in the process was a reaction to this advice. In October 20th, 2022, Member of Parliament MP Sarah Westcott Williams submitted in April. Yes, I saw it. On April 20th, 2022, Member of Parliament MP Westcott Williams submitted the reaction to the advice. With her reaction, the initiator submitted an amended version of the initiative based on the advice of the Council of Advice. The title was adjusted and now reads Initiative National Ordinance Establishing the Entry into Force of the National Ordinance in connection with the ban of plastic bags, etc. MP Westcott Williams defended this draft in the Central Committee meeting number 28 of May 13, 2022. A report was sent to MP Westcott Williams and the Minister on June 3, 2022, containing the final report. And on June 6, 2022, MP Westcott Williams submitted the reaction to the report of the Central Committee on the IS 983 2021-2022. All members receive a copy of all relevant documents or documentation. Today, MP Westcott Williams, the initiative taker, is present for this meeting. Parliament is aware of government's position regarding this draft, as it is government who indicated the situation as mentioned before. Please take note that this is a draft initiative national ordinance initiated by Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams in accordance with Article 85 of the Constitution. Hence, all questions posed by the members of Parliament during this meeting will be addressed and answered by her. I would like to now give the floor to MP Westcott Williams for any remarks. MP Westcott?
Madam Chair, Lady, good afternoon, and Thank you. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to all tuned in to this public meeting of Parliament. Madam Chair Lady, thank you for adding this point to this public meeting so that hopefully we can get this matter passed and allow the government to start to work on its implementation. Madam Chair Lady, while you referred to some technical issues, let me explain for the general public what those technical issues were, or the technical issue was. Fact is that this Parliament, after much deliberation, passed the ban on plastic bags, single-use plastic bags, that is plastic straws and styrofoam. There is a lot of information regarding this matter at Parliament for the members of Parliament who wish to do so to peruse. Based on all of that information, the Parliament at the time thought it feasible to, in establishing the ban, to establish that it would have gone into effect on the 1st of July 2021. In order for a law to go into effect, as we all know, the government needs to ratify the law. And here is where the technical part comes in. So the law as passed by Parliament states goes into effect on the 1st of July 2021. The government, I could just assume, looking at the implementation, did not ratify the law. And subsequently now, the government, not that they don't want the law to go into effect, but I again assume it had to do with the implementation. The members of Parliament who were in one of the meetings at which we invited several ministers, including the Minister of Justice, mind you, Madam Chair Lady, this change is a change to the General Police Ordinance. That's where we have chosen to establish a ban on single-use plastic bags, plastic straws, and styrofoam. And at the time, the Minister of Justice, in full support of the law, indicated that the government, her ministry, the Ministry of Justice, as well as the Ministry of TIAT, were looking at creating a pool of controllers who could then also take up this ball of controlling the ban on plastic bags. Again, I can only but assume that the implementation by government was not ready to start on July 1st, 2021. By the government, however, not ratifying the law, we had, now the technicality again comes in, we had a technicality of one, the government requesting Parliament to change the date in the law, the date of July 2021. In order to do that, however, we also needed to amend the draft that was there, not ratified by government. So that is why it reads the way it reads, but what it in essence comes down to is now mandating the government to establish the date of enforcement of the ban on single-use plastic bags, on plastic straws, and styrofoam. That's what this amendment that we're dealing with today is all about. Fast forwarding to the Central Committee on this matter, and I want to thank the members who were present, the members who gave their support, gave their input in the Central Committee on this amendment, so giving the government the power to establish the implementation by a national decree. But the question that came from factions in that meeting of the Central Committee had to do with what about the implementation? What is government going to do? Is there a trajectory? So, Madam Chair Lady, while I responded to just the few actual questions in the Central Committee, in my reaction to the final report, I also took it upon me, because I don't have the answer for the government in terms of its implementation, but what I did do is simultaneously with submitting my reaction to the Central Committee's report is to send a couple of questions raised by members of parliament to the government regarding the implementation of this particular law. So those questions have been sent to the Prime Minister, asking to respond in terms of now what? So what is government's view on the implementation? How realistic? When does the government think it will issue a national decree establishing the date of enforcement? What about consultation with stakeholders? And what about another awareness program regarding plastic that I know the government has ongoing? These questions have been officially submitted to the government. It came along with my reaction to the report of the Central Committee, so those answers are not yet with Parliament. I expect to get them soon, but in any case, what we have done, and hopefully will ratify today in this meeting, is given the government the mandate to establish the going into effect date by national decree, in other words, a Landsbesluit of government. So again, Madam Chair Lady, I thank the members for their input during the Central Committee meeting discussion, and again, I want to remind members of Parliament that in the whole trajectory of discussions on this law, there's a lot of information at Parliament regarding plastic, the use of plastic, regarding data in terms of plastic, regarding the effects of plastic, and that kind of information. So all of that, much of that, is at Parliament for members' perusal. Madam Chair Lady, with that, I want to thank everyone, and I hope that we can now put it in the lap of government to establish the date, but at the same time, keep a finger on the pulse of government in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Madam Chair Lady, I thank you.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams, for your opening remarks and extensive explanation. I would like to turn the floor over to the members of Parliament, and I see the first member of Parliament on the speaker's list is MP Rolanda Bryson. You have the floor. MP Bryson, please be reminded, 20 minutes in the first round. Yes.
I'll only use 19 minutes and 59 seconds, Madam Chair.
Perfect.
Just kidding. Madam Chair, good morning once again to you, to my colleague members of Parliament, and of course to the initiative taker, also colleague member, but in a special seat today. Once again, actually, to further what the Honourable MP had started with her efforts to introduce or help the country introduce a ban on plastic bags and other items in St. Martin. Madam Chair, I think it is a law that I supported at that time. It's a law that I continue to support, but it's a law that whenever it comes up, some of the implementation questions also come up as well. And it's totally understandable from the perspective of an initiative taker. You know, what we do as an initiative taker is we say, listen, this is something that needs to be implemented of ultimate importance within this country. But then ultimately, indeed, as the MP pointed out, it is up then to the government to then implement, ratify, etc. So that is always challenging in our role as members of Parliament when we do initiatives or even when we bring amendments, because it's a vision of Parliament that ultimately needs to be executed by government. In that sense, I would like to maybe ask the question in a bit of a different perspective. What is the vision of the initiative taker on how implementation could be done by St. Martin? What would be her vision of a realistic, maybe, or a reasonable date? Of course, again, I understand her limitations. She's not the government. This is quite a machinery that needs to move in place. But I say this because, let's say, especially the supermarkets and the people within agriculture and fisheries, they always have the question, okay, when is this coming and how will it come? So although, yes, we're waiting for the answers from the government, I would really enjoy to hear maybe from the perspective of the initiative taker in her research, in some of the feedback we received from the government, but also I think we brought an entity, I don't recall who, from Aruba, that kind of gave some ideas on how you can implement something like this. Also, I've always heard that on paper, let's say, that on the French side, there's some sort of plastic ban. I don't know, but I see plastic bags still, let's say, if I go to the supermarket. So I don't know if there's any information in her research in terms of the French side and the Dutch side, Is there something to be considered in terms of both sides implementing this together? Also the loopholes that might exist, because of course we share a border. The supermarkets on both sides of the island, some of them even have the same brand. You have owners of supermarkets on the Dutch side that also have some on the French side. So if there's any information from the initiative taker on how she might envision that aspect being handled. I would like to also make a suggestion, because I think, I remember in the original debate, one of the reasons why, and maybe she can elucidate on that as well, why there was a kind of an adamancy on saying, let's set a date, because we know what can happen. Sometimes we get these laws passed, and then with everything else going on, if you don't set a target date, maybe it never comes to fruition. So now we saw that from a technical perspective why that is difficult. But what mechanisms can we use to maybe still try to control the government, or let me don't say control, to oversee the government's implementation of this? Maybe a suggestion may be for us to, if this law has the support of Parliament, which I anticipate it probably will, it will definitely have the support of our faction. However, maybe the next step would be to then to invite the ministers, especially the relevant ministers, to a meeting of Parliament where they must present a sort of implementation plan. And that can be in a public meeting where a motion can be passed that still expresses the wish of Parliament to see this implemented by X date, or maybe kind of ratifying the plan that the government presents, so that there's still some type of control and oversight on our end, that a great initiative like this doesn't just fall to the wayside. So that's also an additional suggestion I want to put out there, and maybe also hear the thoughts of that suggestion from the initiative taker. Madam Chair, again, it's always great when Article 85 of our Constitution, the right to initiate and the right of amendment, is used. It is one of the most significant and powerful tools that the Parliament has, and I sincerely want to congratulate MP Westcott Williams once again with a third initiative. I believe it's 3 if I'm not mistaken, from her part as an experienced member of Parliament in helping fix a situation that has dire consequences for our environment and the sustainability of St. Martin. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Bryson. Next on the speakers list, we have MP George Pandiklot. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the Chair, my colleagues in Parliament, persons that are following. Madam Chair, I'll be very brief. I just also want to join my colleague in congratulating MP Westcott Williams on the draft initiative, and definitely it's something that is needed. The discussion on it has been going on for quite some time now, but look at it, it's come to some kind of finalization. Madam Chair, something that I want to say though, and I understand the issue of laws and so on, ordinances and these things that rules that have to be passed in order to ensure that certain things are legalized. I want to just take another route, Madam Chair, in regards to the issue of the responsibility of the public themselves, ourselves, in regards to, while we're on this topic, the issue of plastic bags. Even on my way this morning to Parliament, I saw some plastic bags, stuck in trees, side of the road, and so on. And those things don't get there by accident. It's either somebody threw it out the car door, or maybe they use it, somebody just cast it out carelessly. So I'm using this platform, Madam Chair, to say to these persons, please help us to keep St. Martin clean. My colleagues are going to speak after me, made a tremendous presentation during the CC meeting, I believe, so I will just vacate the floor and allow her to do so. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Pandiklot. Next, we have MP Ludmila De Weaver. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to everyone again. Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. We're back here again. It's just a little bit of a recap of what happened last time and where we are today, and I wanted to reiterate how I feel about this. There is a large part of our community that is ready to do this. MP Westcott Williams, I believe you yourself was in Island Council back in 2008 when Enviro News magazine was still out, was still printed. When I was living abroad, I used my bonus to buy 5,000 organic cotton bags from India to bring them to St. Martin so people can have that idea of using reusable bags. 2008. So if anybody wanted to go look back at their old copies, my mom has one because she reminded me about it several weeks ago. The point of that is that we are in 2022. So if no one, I can't imagine anybody, and I can only speak for myself here right now as a representative of the people, that my responsibility here is to protect the natural resources of St. Martin for future generations, whether or not I have a child. So the point, what I want to get out here today, I appreciate and I will support adding on the styrofoam and the additions to just plastic bags, but we are at an opportunity, at a time right now, we're coming up with a date, or coming up, relying on anybody to come up for a date for us, I don't want to accept. Just tell them to do it for January 1st, 2023. This has gone on long enough. And we do not, this island deserves way better than what we have given it in the 14 years where we have dragged things out. So I hope MP Westcott, that this can be something that we can round off very, very, very fast for the benefit and the good of our country. Thank you very much again for keeping it here.
Thank you, MP De Wever. And I see that MP De Wever was the last speaker on the list today, so I will then turn the floor over to MP Westcott Williams for a response.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and I want to thank those MPs who weighed in on the topic at this stage, where it's our intention, hopefully, to kind of round it off. Madam Chair Lady, the vision of the initiative taker, the lengthy discussions on this matter in terms of how I particularly see it, starting out with a vision of not having to reinvent the wheel. How do we address it? And looked at many different ways of how it could have been done, and ultimately chose, and Parliament eventually supported that, the route that Aruba had taken. So that was the first approach to this matter. Secondly, in terms of its implementation, looking carefully at the evaluation done by Aruba after, I believe, 2 years being in effect, in order to learn from that. This information, the presentation by Aruba, was shared with the government, Of course, it could not have been a one-on-one situation. That's the way they did it, how they had a control team in place in order to carry it out. But very important throughout the process, and that's part of what I have been advocating from the beginning, was consultation, okay? Consultation and awareness. Because indeed, if we don't put some kind of content, some kind of teeth behind this initiative, it is going to be another law there. And I constantly stress in this meeting, in other meetings, that we need to work with the government to get things done and get it done swiftly. Madam Chair Lady, allow me to digress for just a moment on the topic of working with government. Madam Chair Lady, I will not belabor the point, but I would invite members of Parliament who are interested in this topic that I'm going to address, just to show how important, one, collaboration with government is on issues, and secondly, enforcement. Madam Chair Lady, those of my colleagues who have been interested in the matter of spatial development. Spatial development, we have our spatial development law, and the point I want to address is what it took in order to get Article 28A reinserted. What's this Article 28A? In making sure that persons, on the basis of the law, would request permission to do different works on St. Martin. Just look at how long that part there, not a spatial development law, that part of Article 28, okay? So eventually it was done. It had expired, and it took discussions in here back and forth with government, etc., and it was reinstated, Article 28. Since then, the government of St. Martin, Madam Chair Lady, issued a general decree called a Bouwbesluit, a building resolution, Madam Chair Lady, of over 100 pages. When I look around at what is happening on St. Martin today, talking about environment, I ask myself, where is the enforcement of that bouwbesluit? In the bouwbesluit, mind you, this is a decision of government themselves. It was established that the date of going into effect would be established by national decree, not a national ordinance from government. Ham called bouwbesluit. And Madam Chair Lady, that puts into place that persons to do whatsoever on St. Martin would need to get a permit. Madam Chair Lady, there's nothing wrong with building on St. Martin, but you need to do it according to certain rules and regulations. And that's what that bouwbesluit establishes. Question is, I haven't found it, Madam Chair Lady, I've looked for it. The enforcement decision of that. And this is just on government level. So when you look at a bouwbesluit, you say, whoa, that's a nice thing. I look at it, I say, whoa, that's a nice thing. But unless we can deal with the enforcement, look how much has happened since. This bouwbesluit was issued by the government, Ham, based on the ordinance for spatial development. In the meantime, everything is happening on St. Martin. How much control is there? Madam Chair Lady, isn't it so? And and my colleagues who know more of that kind of information, spatial development, those kind of technical issues, Madam Chair Lady, is there not a certain way, if building in the hills, that the hills should be cut? That's what I have always been told. There's a certain way. Is that happening on St. Martin when I look around? And I've stated it in here before. If I look, and it's not only the area where I live, Madam Chair Lady, when rain starts to come, more than is now the case, people's homes are going to be flooded, without a doubt. It was happening before we had all the cutting and the whatever. It's going to be worse. Where is the control? So, Madam Chair Lady, I was happy to get the opportunity to kind of digress there a little and highlight the area of enforcement. The MP mentioned the issue of agriculture and fishery and those kind of things. Well, Madam Chair Lady, agriculture as well, fisheries even more so. Well, first of all, before we talk about plastic bags for fishery and the like, we need to protect our fishing industry. Madam Chair Lady, when we talk about promoting small and medium enterprise, and we talk about fishery as being part of that, Madam Chair Lady, what are we doing to protect it? What are we doing to protect our people who fishing? Anybody understand the hardship behind fishing today? Huh? Do we? So yeah, it's nice to mention it in the context of plastic bag, with which I agree, by the way, because that was one of the first things that I did. I went to my fishing people, I can really call them that. And I like, this is what I want to do. What are we going to do? Aruba indicated that what they started with is, and I mentioned this before in a meeting, what they started with was to say, well, instead of the plastic bags in which we all put our fish, wrap them in newspaper. That's what they started with. And then my layman's question would be, but what about the ink on a newspaper? I don't know. Is that an issue? But Madam Chair Lady, we had something called Kuda bags. Remember? We have Kuda bags. Right? I saw beautiful, by the NRPB, I saw beautiful, I think it was for Christmas, had a beautiful Kuda bag. What do you call it? Officially, again, I have it in a plastic bag, notes that I presented to Parliament. But that could be a possibility to answer the MP's question. That could be a possibility. But again, Madam Chair Lady, the minute we talk what we can do with fishery and plastic bag, I think we should also give attention to the fishing industry itself. Same thing for agriculture. We can find, there are many options. maybe MP Ludmila de Weaver now, for example, could look at what, something that could have replaced her 2008 initiative. There's so much possibilities if only we can decide that, we need to do this together. We need to do this together. So, Madam Chair Lady, I talked about the vision of the initiative taker, the agriculture and fisheries issue. Madam Chair Lady, I want to talk about agriculture because all of it ties in. It's nice, and we go to the farmers market, right? Don't we? Every first Saturday of the month, we go to the farmers market. Madam Chair Lady, we know so many persons who do their own little thing in terms of gardening and garden agriculture and all that kind of thing. But Madam Chair Lady, we got some serious impediments to promoting that, such as, for example, the whole monkey issue. Guana, same thing. You understand? So when we mention them in the context of, how do we get the products from the producer to the consumer if we ban plastic bags, we also need to look at the topic itself. I completely agree with MP Bryson in terms of let's keep the finger on the pulse. MP Bryson suggested maybe get the ministers here and come with a motion. And I want to tie that into the suggestion by MP Ludmila de Weaver in terms of should we not establish a date? And actually that would be, should we not establish a date again? Because when we established in the ordinance the 1st of July 2021, and we were all happy and we told persons, we took that decision in November 2020. And we say, again, going according to Aruba, who had indicated how much time they had given the government, and we put the 1st of July 2021. The government left it there a while and clearly could not have dealt with it on the basis of that date, and hence what we're dealing with today. That's the reason why we're here today on this amendment. And so, yes, indeed, let us keep our finger on the pulse. Let us call in the government and the ministers, and while not going to change this amendment again to now put in a date to potentially face the same issue we faced when we had July 2021, let's make sure that the government comes in and gives account, and so that we can at some point see whether if by January 23 it hasn't happened, it will not happen, government is not pushing it, at least Parliament will be able to see whether the arguments for not being able to do it, whether those are valid arguments. Madam Chair Lady, so invite the ministers and maybe come with a motion. Yes, indeed, I completely support that and think it's something that we definitely should do. Madam Chair Lady, again, coming back to the understanding with government and how collaboration, while both in our respective roles, so Parliament in its role, government in its role, but the collaboration being so important. MP Bryson indicated that that I have like 3 initiative laws in, Madam Chair Lady, to MP Bryson, more than that, MP Bryson. More than those, and I only have to mention one in terms of this collaboration with government, and that's the timeshare law. I also have in a draft dealing with actually the law that we dealt with the Prime Minister here present, political financing of political parties and registration. I also have in one actually for the Constitutional Court to expand the scope of the Constitutional Court. But where that got stuck was in, so what does the government say about that? Many of these went to the Council of Advice already and came back here, and then it's like, okay, what's the government thinking? What's the government saying? You check with the government, is this really, and valid questions, but yeah, unless you have that collaboration, it's difficult. So, Madam Chair Lady, with respect to MP Pontiflet, indeed, and that is why I am indeed being personal responsibility, understanding and responsibility. And that's why I am so keen regarding the project, the European funded project that government has also undertaken, Plastic Free in 2023. And because an important component of that is awareness, is creating awareness, is the campaign around the ban. And I think that is important as well. So I agree with the MP's comments on that topic. And I thank MP De Wever for her continued insights into this matter and her 2008 story. I think that's very telling. And I was very serious when I mentioned that based on that experience, maybe we can make proposals to government regarding substitution rather. And I think that's really where we have to look. It's one thing to tell persons that it is no longer permissible. It's another thing when they ask you, especially in the industries again mentioned by MP Bryson, okay, and then what do I do now? And government need to at least be able to assist in finding solutions. As I mentioned in the Central Committee meeting, one of the issues Aruba faced, by the way, Aruba's evaluation is also at Parliament. One of the issues that they faced was when they established the date, the amount of bags that were at businesses already ordered. Actually, like for nothing, when you talk about ordering them in the millions, then per bag, the cost is practically nothing. And what do you do with all of those? You know, we have had a discussion in here as well when we talk about substitution, and a reference was made of biodegradable plastic. Even that is not a 1, 2, 3 solution, because unless you have the facility for that, it's just as bad as plastic itself. So, Madam Chair Lady, on that note, I hope I have also addressed MP De Wever's actual proposal for implementation per January 2023. So, Madam Chair Lady, I hereby turn it back over to you.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. We now turn the floor over for clarifications, but I see there's no need for that. And then we can just then move over to round 2. And in round 2, we have MP Rolanda Bryson, the first speaker.
No need, Madam Chair.
And then MP Panderflat, no need. And MP De Wever, round 2?
Madam Chair.
No need. Okay, with that then, members of Parliament, we will then go over to the voting of the law. According to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we go over to the voting of the Initiative National Ordinance establishing the entry into force of the National Ordinance in connection with the ban of plastic bags, etc. Parliamentary year 2021, 2022. Parliamentary year 2021 to 2022, number 153. We vote on Articles 1 to 2. We vote on the title, consideration, the draft in its entirety as amended after the advice of the Council of Advice. Does any member of Parliament request voting by a roll call? Hoofdelijke stemming? If not, then the draft is unanimously accepted. According to Article 88, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Sint Maarten, Parliament shall notify the government that Parliament has approved this draft law in the public meeting of today, and the governor will then send this draft to the government for their advice on ratification of the draft. The government will also look at the financial issue related to this draft, and this draft will then be discussed in the Council of Ministers, and if not approved by the minister, the chairperson of Parliament will be notified. If approved, then the governor will be notified and the signing will take place. I would like to thank MP Westcott Williams for her presence here today and for providing the necessary information. With that, I would like to now close agenda point 1. And again, we move over to what we discussed earlier, which was agenda point 3 being adjourned, as we are still busy with the handling of the report. And back to agenda point 4, which is the carnival requesting to have a public meeting. I decided earlier to turn that meeting into a closed-door meeting at 1 o'clock, and that will be in a few minutes. And based on the outcome of that meeting, we will decide, as I am fully aware that it is an urgent request for OVE, and I understand the requester's urgency. Based on the outcome of that closed-door meeting, we will decide on the spot today when we will have or continue with the public meeting. With that, members of Parliament, I would have now like to adjourn the meeting, and then we will move over to the 1 p.m. meeting. Meeting adjourned until further notice.